Welcome to episode 6, Value and Protection. Today we're going to look at two of the most important principles in Texas Hold'em poker. Value. Value is about assessing how much your hand is worth or how much money you should put into a pot. Sometimes you need to fold these hands. Protection. Protection is about saving and guarding your strong hands. If you're in front, make sure you bet it. You don't want to see someone get a miracle card on the river and see a massive pot being pushed in their direction.
Understanding the value of a hand and knowing how to play it can be very confusing for a novice poker player. If you can get your head around the concept, it will mean that you can draw more money into the pot from your opponents. In limit poker, the value is reasonably good, as the bets are small in comparison to the pot. In this episode, we're going to be dealing with the principles that apply to no limit hold'em.
All in.
Flushes and straights make up the majority of drawing hands. These hands can be particularly rewarding, though you need to be careful chasing these hands. It can become very expensive if you're not getting the right value. The notion that you need a degree in advanced mathematics to play poker is rubbish. You just need to know the process and apply basic math skills. Here is an example of how value plays an integral role in what the players decide to do with the hands they are dealt.
In middle position, Stuart calls with a questionable starting hand of ace-5 offsuit. This is a loose play. Aces with small kickers can often run into aces with large kickers, and that can spell trouble.
Cy in late position calls with Jack-Queen, a very nice starting hand in a multi-way pot. Boris calls for another 1,000. He will definitely have a look at the flop. As you can see, Michael has a pretty average hand, but he will get to see the flop for free.
The dealer turns over the flop. Boris likes what he sees because he has hit a king-high flush draw. He checks because he wants to see another card cheaply. His hand has potential, but at this stage he still has nothing.
Cy has top pair. He would expect that he is in front and he puts in a smallish bet. For me, this bet is too small and may cost him later. If you think you're in front, bet the hand properly.
Cy's bet, however, is certainly enough to get rid of Michael, who quickly folds.
Stuart has no pair. The card that would really help him now is a 4. That would give him a small straight. He also has a chance of 2 spades to make the flush. His hand is not that good. He needs a miracle,
but there is already 18,000 in the pot, and it's only going to cost him another 5,000 to call. This is a loose play from Stuart, but at least the reward is going to be worth the risk, because if the miracle comes off, Stuart's in line to win a monster.
The turn now brings another spade. Boris can barely believe his luck. He has hit the flush. Boris now draws the other opponents into the pot by betting 5,000. This is a mistake because he invites other players into the pot who might outdraw him.
So it will cost Stuart 5,000 to call. There is 28,000 in the pot already. If we divide 28 by 5, we get a little over 5.5 to 1.
If another spade comes, he will have the ace-high flush, which will almost certainly see him being the winner. You would think that because there are 4 suits in a deck of cards, of which spades are 1, that it would be a 4 to 1 chance. It's actually a little closer to 5 to 1 because there are already 3 spades out on the board.
We don't count Boris or Cy's spades because these are hidden cards and we can't use them in the calculations. As you can see by the odds, this makes Stuart's call easy. Even if he doesn't make any more money out of the hand if his spade hits, he's still getting over the odds to call. What makes this even sweeter is the notion of implied odds.
In basic terms, implied odds means that if you hit your hand, there is a good chance that other players will pay you off. Now let's get back to the hand. Si doesn't like the spade, but there's a lot of money left in the pot, and he decides to call for 5,000. This is a pretty weak play and not one I would recommend. What he is actually doing here is drawing dead. This is the worst possible thing you can ever do at a poker table. Now that was not the best card in the world for Boris. He still has a king-high flush, which is the second highest flush. He would have preferred that the spade didn't come, but he still thinks he is in front. If he had made a decent bet on the flop or on the turn, Stuart certainly would have folded. Stuart now knows that he has a monster, and his only problem is how he's going to get paid off.
I'm all in.
Si has a flush as well. In fact, the queen high, which is the third best possible hand at this stage. Thankfully, sanity has prevailed, and Boris's bet and Stuart's all in has told Si that his queen high flush is not going to cut the mustard on this hand. Boris, usually a cool and smooth customer, has been flustered by Stuart's all-in bet. He doesn't like to call here when he thinks he is behind, but he doesn't have a certain read on Stuart. The pot is big and he feels that he should call, even though Stuart might have the ace. Boris's call wins Stuart a huge pot. Stuart got value all the way to call. No one put in a big enough bet to initially get rid of him. It cost him only a small amount of money to win a huge pot. This is what value is all about. When he was faced with a big bet from Boris, he calculated his outs, how many cards he had in the deck that were going to win him the pot. Sometimes you're not going to hit, but as long as you're getting the right value, you're always going to end up in front in the long term.